discovered my wife's increasingly close relationship with her friend Mia. I, 30M, have been married to my wife, Grace, 27F, for 3 years. About a year ago, we moved to a new city because I was offered a promotion. Grace was hesitant at first but soon came around to the idea. Since arriving in the city, we have both been busy with work and have struggled to make new friends. Around 4 months in, Grace told me she had met a new friend, Mia, 28F, and they had a lot in common. I was happy for her, and we planned a double date with Mia and her husband a few weeks later. At the first dinner, we started to make the usual small talk, but when I tried to engage with Mia, she seemed cold and dismissive. For the rest of the night, I was left to speak to her husband while my wife and Mia were deep in conversation. Every time I tried to join their chat, Mia redirected the conversation back to my wife. The husband never tried to get involved. I brushed this off as Mia maybe being a bit shy around new people and forgot about it. Over the next month, Grace and Mia would text constantly, have long phone calls at night, and meet up a couple of times a week for coffee or lunch. This didn't bother me. I just thought they were forming a close friendship. We then went out again for dinner and the Gracie thing happened, although Mia spoke to the whole group more this time. She made a number of comments alluding to her being bisexual and her husband being in some sort of open relationship. When we moved on to a bar, Mia sat across from my wife and started openly flirting with her. She would make suggestive comments, compliment her, and use any excuse to make physical contact, touching her hands, shoulders, etc. When we got home, I made a joke, asking Grace if she enjoyed her date with Mia. She looked confused and asked what I meant. I said that Mia had made me a bit uncomfortable with her flirting, but Grace brushed it off, saying, "That's just how she is." I told her that I wasn't sure Mia just wanted to be friends and asked her to be careful. For reference, Grace has never shown any real interest in women, and as far as I know, she is straight. She is also endearingly naive and will always see the best in people. The texting and calls continued, and Grace started going over to Mia's apartment at least once a week, not coming home until quite late. I was wary, but she would always tell me what they had done, watched TV, chatted, etc. After one of these visits, I asked what Mia's husband was up to and was slightly shocked to hear that he was away on a business trip. Apparently, he traveled a lot, and Mia didn't like being home alone. This situation came to a boiling point a few weeks ago when I took Mia's husband to play golf. We were supposed to go out for drinks and dinner afterward with 2 other guys, but they both had to cancel last minute. On the 10-minute drive back to my house, I could see Mia's husband texting her. Mia and Grace were supposed to be going out shopping and for lunch, but when we arrived at my place, they both looked flustered, sitting at opposite ends of the couch. We made awkward small talk for a while, but when I went into the bedroom, I noticed Mia's smartwatch sitting by the bed. They left quickly, and I decided it was time to talk to Grace. I casually asked her what she bought at the mall and where they went for lunch. She said they decided to stay home instead because Mia had a headache. I asked her to be honest about what they had done, and she swore that they had just chatted all afternoon and that they were just friends. I told her I was uncomfortable with a lot of things that had happened, but she tried to reassure me. Later, I noticed that the smartwatch was gone, but I didn't bring this up to Grace. Since then, there have been no phone calls or messages while I was around, and Grace seemed extra loving and attentive. She rarely brought up Mia, but last night she mentioned that she was going to a concert with Mia on Saturday and would crash at her place afterward. I said I wasn't comfortable with this and offered to pick her up instead. She got angry, saying I was acting controlling and crazy, then went to bed. We haven't spoken since, but now I'm wondering, am I overreacting? Should I try to stop her from staying over on Saturday? I think I trust Grace, but something is telling me that her relationship with Mia is not just a friendship. Should I snoop? Update 1. I decided I needed firm proof that Grace was cheating before I confronted her. When I got home from work, Grace had made dinner as normal and sat with me while I ate. I acted normally with her, and she caught me off guard by apologizing for her behavior the night before. She asked if I was still willing to pick her up or if I would try to find someone selling a ticket so I could join her at the concert. I asked her to try to find a ticket, and she seemed happy. The rest of the night was normal, and after we went to bed, I couldn't sleep. Around 1 a.m., Grace was sound asleep, so I grabbed her phone and went to the bathroom. I unlocked it. We know each other's passcodes, and braced myself. I knew they texted each other on WhatsApp, so I started by looking for other messaging apps. I checked everywhere and used the trick someone recommended of looking at the battery usage to see the most used apps. I didn't find anything. Grace isn't into social media and doesn't use Instagram, Snapchat, or similar apps. I also checked her browser history, emails, photos, call logs, deleted items, and more. I couldn't find anything suspicious. Finally, I opened the chat with Mia on WhatsApp. I found hundreds of messages, sometimes up to 50 per day. Around 99% of them were completely normal, talking about TV shows, books, music, recipes, family, and day-to-day life. The other 1% included a few messages that seemed suspect. There were no nudes or explicit exchanges that pointed toward them having had sex, and nothing had been deleted. I checked chats with her other friends and they were very similar. What concerned me was how Mia texted Grace. Mia always initiated conversations, often following up 3 or 4 times until Grace responded. If Grace didn't reply, Mia would start calling. There were also messages where Mia's tone turned cold or less friendly when Grace didn't respond. When Mia asked Grace to do something together, there was often a subtle guilt trip added, like she didn't want to go alone because of social anxiety or that she was scared to be home by herself. The messages had slowed down in recent weeks because they were both complaining about being busy, and Mia had been out of town. Even though I didn't find a smoking gun, it's clear Mia and her strange husband are bad news for our marriage. We'll be having a serious conversation tonight. I need the truth because Grace is a terrible liar. If nothing more has happened, I'll make it clear that divorce is still on the table unless these two are immediately and permanently removed from our lives. Update 2. First of all, my original post didn't cover everything that led to my suspicions about Grace's relationship with Mia. There were many other factors, such as Grace prioritizing her communication and time with Mia over me and not talking about Mia the way she did about her other friends. That said, we've had regular discussions about these things because we generally have good communication. On to the update. Grace came home on Friday, and we sat down to talk after dinner. It wasn't a dramatic confrontation but a long and candid conversation lasting several hours. Here's a summary. Initially, Grace enjoyed spending time with Mia, but it had become too intense and uncomfortable for her. She felt Mia was too needy and controlling but didn't want to lose her only close friend in this city. Grace admitted she knew Mia had a crush on her. She had made it clear to Mia that she was happily married and straight. She regretted not telling me about this earlier but feared I wouldn't be okay with it. Grace claimed nothing physical occurred between her and Mia. However, Mia had tried to initiate playful physical contact and made suggestive comments about Grace's body. Grace said she shut this behavior down. Grace told me she wanted to cut down her contact with Mia and focus on our relationship. She mentioned a new friend she had made and wanted to spend time with them instead. Grace addressed the specific incidents that raised red flags for me. Mia apparently dislikes most men and treats her husband terribly. Grace said this explained Mia's dismissive behavior toward me. Mia had been showing Grace a risque scene from a new TV show. They didn't realize we'd be back early and switched off the TV when we arrived. Mia had gone into our bedroom to borrow a dress for a wedding. She took off her smartwatch while trying on dresses, and Grace assumed she'd picked it up later. When I asked Grace not to crash at Mia's apartment, she said she was worried Mia would be angry if she canceled their girls' night. I confessed to snooping on Grace's phone. She was initially upset but understood my reasons and forgave me. We both apologized for our mistakes and went to bed. I managed to get a ticket to the concert and went with Grace and Mia. Mia made a few thinly veiled comments about me being their chaperone, but I laughed it off. We met another couple at the concert, and I spent the evening with the husband while the ladies danced. Grace and I agreed to move forward and work on our relationship. She promised to reduce her contact with Mia and focus on making new friends and nurturing our marriage.